Hello everybody, this is the Vikström and the subject of today is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is probably the shrewdest businessman in Hollywood because despite making bad movies, no wait, I'll retract that. Despite making terrible movies, he has been able to, be one of the most successful directors in America. His movies aren't that, known in Europe, but in the United States he has a very solid fan base. So much so that he has been able to build his own freaking movie studio, one of the biggest in the entire country of the United States. And they sure as hell make a few movies, you guys. His movies are ill-written, atrociously directed, horribly acted, woefully edited, and falls into one of three categories. Comedies that are not funny and is built on 1950s morality cliches with, youngsters in problems or some shit like that. Or it is relationship dramas that are, soap opera nonsense that fills absolutely no purpose except for killing 2 hours of your life. The third one is his attempts of making thriller-like movies. We're going to take a look at today his 2020 direct Netflix movie A Fall from Grace, which falls into the latter of the categories. And even though this movie is technically one of the better movies I have seen directed by Tyler Perry, that doesn't say that much. It is basically like saying, well, at least I was just stabbed and not shot and gang raped. This is A Fall from Grace. Jesus Christ, this movie. And before we begin, this movie can be read as Tyler Perry's A Fall from Grace, which is a little ironic, Tyler, because you need some grace to be able to fall from. So let's talk for a second here about Grace. Now, she is accused of having murdered her husband, and she has also admitted of doing so. And she basically just wants to get the trial over with, and she just wants to, cutting a deal with the district attorney, so she can be visited by her son and stuff like that. So we have our barrister or lawyer Jasmine, who is a rookie and isn't experienced in this thing, and she's being picked to do this case. She's basically a public defender, so her boss, played by Tyler Perry in not Medea costume, we'll get to that in a second, tells her that this is in and out, and just get the paperwork in order and you're out of there. But something in Grace's story strikes a chord with her, and she decides that she's going to fight for Grace because she thinks that Grace is holding something back. What is it that she's holding back? We'll see. Now, for a brief moment in the first half of this movie, when we have the flashback of Grace meeting her husband in an art gallery, he's an artist and he's a lot younger than her, but he just sweeps her off her feet. I think that story is actually pretty good. So we have 25, maybe 30 minutes of, well, pretty okay movie making here, I would say, despite having some of the worst extras I've ever seen in an entire movie. They're looking directly into the camera, or they're just checking out, Grace's new boy toy. What do I know? But the longer this flashback goes, the lesser and lesser it goes into, well, this is kind of good territory, to, well, that's kind of dumb. Well, that's kind of what? And then the tropes, the horrible tropes of a Tyler Perry movie starts to come in. Clunky dialogue, horrible acting, wooden structure of everything. It looks fucking awful. And lots of stuff just stops making sense. And I'm just like, oh geez, we're in trouble here. And then we get to one of my favorite things in cinema. Courtroom dramas. And I'm thinking, okay, Now we're gonna pick up some business. And then everything just goes. This movie is a sluggish 2 hour to get through, by the way. Now, this movie has the weird thing of being both too long and too short at the same time. Because basically, it's too short because a lot of stuff is just chopped off and we don't get to hear what anybody has to say about anything. We're just rushing by stuff so we can get to boring stuff. Because this movie is so boring, and it is too long because of that, because it just takes so long for nothing to happen. And then, after about half the movie, they throw in a, well, planet-sized wrench into the entire thing. It's basically like, oh, by the way, did you know that there were aliens in this movie? What the fuck? Now, I should point out that there is no aliens in this movie. This is an alien-free movie. You got my words on that one. Phew, dodged that bullet. But it stands that they're making a statement that is so dumb and so what that you go, have you actually done some research on how, you know, murder investigations go on? Because I think you missed something. This little thing is so out of the blue and so bad shit insane that I think I've, you know, missed it or something like that, because this just pokes so many holes into the plot that this looks like a colander in the end, and I was like, oh shit, this is not going well. We had a little hope spot in the end where, you know, Jasmine's husband, who is a police officer, start, you know, wrecking shit and, you know, doing stuff. And there I thought, okay, it's going a little bit better now, I think. But then we get to the twist of the movie, which works for about 5 seconds, and then I go, what the hell? And then there is no recovery from that. It is just, you know, just straight down to the shitters with this movie. I will say that the unintentional comedy of this movie actually made me laugh more than Boo and Medea Halloween, which is fucking saying something. That movie is completely atrocious, one of the worst movies of the entire freaking past decade. Now, if you like courtroom dramas, stay away from this movie. If you like thrillers, stay away from this movie. If you like movies, stay away from this movie. This movie is terrible, but I think that in the hands of a good director like Bryan Singer or Christopher McQuarrie or a Christopher Nolan or a Guillermo del Toro or, you know, David Fincher, they could have made a fantastic movie out of this one. But now it is in the hands of Tyler Perry, who shot this movie in 5 fucking days. 5 days! You made a 2-hour movie. I must say I'm impressed with the speed, but that's the only thing I'm impressed by. A Fall from Grace is a terribly atrociously boring, a tedious movie with horrible dialogue, horrendously Bush League production value, and I actually wished that Tyler Perry could come in as his Medea character, aka Tyler Perry in drag in a fat suit and, you know, yell some stuff. Now, of course, that would make me angry after about 2 minutes and want to bash her brain in with a sledgehammer or something like that. But at least it would have been something. This is just so boring. God. Anyway, I think that if it hasn't been clear earlier, this is a stupid movie, it is a boring movie, it is a movie that makes no sense, and it has a terrible ending, and I have no idea how anybody could think that this was going to work. I went a little back and forth on this one, because it begins sort of okay, but then it goes full on, what the fuck is this? So I can't really give it, you know, a woeful rating, but it is a terribly bad movie. Crystal Fox, who plays Grace, is the only actor in this movie who gives some kind of delivery with some kind of, well, grace actually, and it has to be accounted for something. Rest of the cast, they can go suck a fat one because they all suck. Especially Brescia Webb, who plays Jasmine. she is fucking atrociously awful. When she's, you know, doubting herself and saying, oh, am I a bad lawyer? Am I a bad barrister? You're not a bad barrister at all. You're an awful barrister. This movie gets 11 points, and I am being gracious to this movie in this case. This is a terrible movie that is just, well, terrible. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.